Look, I honestly believe this is the closest Canada has ever been from completely falling into pieces. Canada is about to break apart, and anyone paying attention understands exactly why that's happening. If I had it my way, if I had it my way, Alberta would separate and become an independent country, and then we can negotiate with Canada for coastal access. They won't give us coastal access. Maybe we negotiate with the Americans. They've been a lot friendlier. Hey everybody, it's PJ. I appreciate you being here. In today's report, we'll be looking at an oil pipeline announcement coming straight from the government of Alberta and how the rest of Canada, particularly British Columbia and Quebec, are already sabotaging the project, and it hasn't even started yet. And then we have Premier Danielle Smith with a very strong warning for the rest of Canada. Is she actually playing 3D chess and we just don't realize it? We'll be covering this and other important topics you won't want to miss. But before we start, do me a favor and double check if you're still subscribed. If you are, thank you. Please click the bell and notifications icon so you never miss an update on the Alberta independence movement. Let's get into the video. So we're looking at the announcement from Alberta Premier Danielle Smith. She says, today, Alberta's government announced that we will be taking the first step towards building a new oil pipeline to the West Coast. Using the technical advice of major pipeline companies and with Indigenous participation, the province will begin engagement with Alberta and BC, British Columbia, Indigenous communities, develop a proposal, and submit a formal application for a project of national significance to the Federal Major Projects Office. This project will strengthen Canada's economy, open new export markets, create Indigenous ownership opportunities in Alberta and British Columbia, and advance Canada's national interest. So this is an announcement she put out yesterday, October 1st, 2025, where she announces her intent or the intent of her government to start investing into advancing a project of a pipeline that is going to go to the West Coast. Well, the hope is that it goes from Alberta, which has most of Canada's oil deposits, heading to the northwest coast of British Columbia, Port of Prince Rupert, I believe, or Kitimat. So that is the goal. That is the announcement that she made yesterday. Then we have Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe throwing his support behind the project, behind Alberta's announcement of a new oil pipeline to the West Coast. He says, and I quote, Saskatchewan stands with Alberta as they take steps to build a new West Coast oil pipeline. This project strengthens Canada's economy, opens new markets, and creates opportunities to advance Canada's national interest. End quote. So that was Scott Moe, again, Premier of Saskatchewan, which is the province to the east of Alberta. For those of you south of the border who may not know, Alberta and Saskatchewan are basically natural allies. These are two provinces that were created and integrated into the Canadian Federation at the same time, both being screwed by Ottawa for decades and decades, Alberta to a larger extent, but Saskatchewan as well. And it is no surprise that the Conservative Premier of Saskatchewan, Scott Moe, is showing his support for Alberta, and it is very welcomed. But of course, there's already pushback. Of course, we already have the bleeding hearts on the left in Canada saying that they won't support, and I guess so much for elbows up, and we're going to show the Americans by being, having Canadian solidarity and approving as many projects as possible. Mark Carney and the elbows up crowd saying that we're going to turn into the biggest energy superpower in the world. So much for that. We already have the Premier of British Columbia, soy boy, David Eby. And here's what he had to say about Alberta's push for a pipeline. Let's listen in.
To put that tanker ban at threat, it's not just a threat to our pristine coast that so many British Columbians, including myself, value, but it is a direct economic threat to the kind of economy that we're trying to build in the country here. And so when I've said, let's cross that bridge when we come to it, we'll see what the Premier comes up with, I'm being polite. I am being polite. There is no project. There is no bridge to cross unless the Albertan government and the federal Canadian government are committing billions of taxpayer dollars to build this project. And if that is the plan, then they should be transparent about it. Don't mistake my politeness for weakness on protecting our economy and our coast.
Ooh, listen to the tough guy. Oh my goodness. He's don't mistake my politeness for weakness. What politeness? What politeness? You've been blocking Alberta resources at every single turn. Every single chance you get, like the socialist liberal that you are, you've been against Alberta energy while importing all kinds of things from China and other communist dictatorships overseas. But Alberta energy, no thanks. We don't want any of that dirty Alberta oil in our lands here. Alberta doesn't have access to the coast, and you think that in a functioning country, that wouldn't be a problem because we have a west coast. We have a north coast. We have an east coast. But Alberta has been blocked at every single turn. They canceled Energy East, which would see an Alberta pipeline go all the way to the east coast because Quebec was against it, among other special interest groups. They blocked Northern Gateway, which was a pipeline that was supposed to go to the northwest coast of British Columbia. And then Biden in 2020, I believe, 2020, Biden killed Keystone XL.
The Alberta government seems poised today to announce a deal with Enbridge and some other major companies to put forward a pipeline proposal, an oil pipeline. Fortunately for you, I think it's not going to go to Quebec, it's going to go to BC. You've been critical of the Alberta government before. What do you make of them going forward with this?
Let's imagine that Quebec is an independent and free country. We will go on the world stages to say that Alberta is destroying the environment of the whole planet. So I will say the same thing.
But when you have your own fellow Canadians block your energy resources and your ability to bring it to the export markets, that just hits different. What kind of a country are we? Maybe that's what Danielle Smith is trying to expose. And here we have a clip where Premier Danielle Smith is basically asked about how British Columbia is already against it. Well, the government of British Columbia is already against the pipeline proposal. Let's hear what she had to say about it.
I will continue, as I said, to work to build the coalition of partners who are going to be on board with this. But this is a Canada project, and this is a test of whether Canada works as a country. Because if we can't build with collaboration of the federal government and between provinces, if it's everybody gets to get their products going to market except Alberta, that's not a country. A country is one where we support each other. And I think Canadians are there, and I hope that we can get more and more politicians to get there too.
This is exactly why I said that Danielle might be playing 3D chess. I mean, she's making the case like, look, I'm just trying to build a pipeline that will not only benefit Alberta, which happens to be a part of Canada, at least on paper, it will benefit the rest of Canada, a country that is hurting financially, a country that needs a W from whatever it comes from. We need a W. We need a win here. This country is falling apart financially. And this is not PJ speaking. This is the government itself telling us that the country is in deep, deep trouble. I don't know if you guys watched the video I put out 2 or 3 days ago talking about how the parliamentary budget officer, this is an officer of the government, said that Canada is in such rough shape, it doesn't have 2 years to fix this issue. It needs to be fixed now. We need investment now. We need development now, or this country is going to collapse economically. Go and watch that video. I'm going to leave the link here somewhere. And then you have governments from other provinces blocking development. You know how much money that will generate, not only for Alberta, but for the rest of Canada? If I had it my way, Alberta would separate and become an independent country, and then we can negotiate with Canada for coastal access. They won't give us coastal access. Maybe we negotiate with the Americans. They've been a lot friendlier. They've been a lot more open to making deals. That's why we have a lot more pipelines to south of the border than we have within Canada, which is crazy to say. It's a lot easier to build a pipeline from Alberta into the United States to access markets than it is to build a pipeline just to the next province over to the west, to British Columbia. Maybe Danielle Smith knows exactly what she's doing. Maybe we're all getting ahead of ourselves and she's playing 3D chess here. She's showing all those who are sitting in the middle, who are not all the way on board with Alberta independence, showing them, look, I'm trying. I'm trying here. And they don't care. They're blocking every single attempt I'm making, even if it benefits the country, not just Alberta. Other provinces get their projects approved, but not Alberta. But when it comes to taking wealth from us and transferring it to those provinces that block our progress, they're more than happy. They come with their hands out. Maybe she's playing 3D chess. So here's a clip from an interview Premier Smith did with the CBC, where she said she doesn't know what the consequences of a no will be, referring to the pipeline being denied by the federal Liberal government. Let's take a listen.
Quick question, because I know you got a jet. The plan is to submit something to the Major Projects Office by the spring of next year. This is beyond when you were hoping to have movement on the laws, which was last month now. It was by the middle of September. You're hoping to see some change. So how quickly from the spring of 2026 do you expect to have an answer from the federal government and a sense of whether it's yay or nay?
Well, I would hope that I'd have a preliminary answer very soon. I mean, I want this to be on the project list by November. We have some work that we need to do to make sure that we scope it out and understand what the route would be, what the endpoint would be. And that is going to just take a little bit of technical work. But we should have a pretty good indication about whether there's a yes or a no. And I have to say, I don't know what the consequences of no might be. If everyone else is allowed to build projects except Alberta, then that's a real problem. Then we're not acting like a country. I have supported every premier in every one of their aspirations and their desire to continue to expand their economy on all fronts. I think Alberta just wants a little bit of support from our fellow premiers, because I think we already have it from Canadians. In our polling that we've seen, 75% of Canadians believe that we need to build more pipelines, get our product to market. So I feel like we've got the people on our side, and we just have to maybe do a little bit more work to get some of the politicians on our side. But this is the right decision. This would be the right pathway. This is what Canada needs, and it's what our province needs.
I'm telling you guys, this lady might be playing 3D chess. Do you hear the wording she used? I don't know what the consequences of a no will be. Alberta has been supporting other provinces in their projects that they have, in their infrastructure projects, energy projects, and we only expect other provinces to support us back. She's basically making the case for independence, people. This is what she's doing. I believe this lady's playing 3D chess here. I think she's playing a very intelligent game, but I also might be wrong. I may be wrong. Maybe she's just pandering. Maybe she's begging for a pipeline to save her political career because Albertans are running out of patience fast. But maybe, just maybe, she's just making the case for Alberta independence. Look, we support everybody. Not only financially, but literally, morally, and generally, we're there for other people and their projects, and we've been there. And all we're asking is for them to do the same, and they're not. So I don't know what the consequences of a no will be. And she's doing it on the record. That's the thing. She's doing all of this very publicly. People will see, those sitting on the fence that are not completely sold on Alberta independence, her efforts to try to get some sort of support and consensus. And all we'll see is Saskatchewan supporting Alberta and Alberta Energy. What do you think that'll do for independence? At least for those who are willing to listen, those sitting on the fence, those who are not part of that crowd that we will never win over, because you just can't win over the elbows up crowd. Those people are brainwashed. They'll never listen. They just don't listen. They got their preconceived notions. They're not open to changing their minds. Don't waste your time. All right. Thank you all for watching. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions or something to share. I try to read as many comments as possible. Thank you to all our channel members. It's been PJ. See you in the next one. Hey, if you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to be notified every time a new video is published, hit the subscribe button and activate the notifications bell. It's completely free and it helps our channel grow. A heartfelt thank you to all our channel members. I really appreciate your support. See you all in the next one. Peace.